The sugar industry is on the brink of collapse. This according to stakeholders. Both commercial and small-scale sugar farmers attribute the crisis in the industry to cheap imports. AfriWorld reporter Solima Pumolo has the story.
The jobs of 17,000 people could be on the line unless there is an urgent intervention from government to help a beleaguered sugar industry.
Most of the big sugar producing countries, governments also protect their local industries, and they do this by import duties or quotas or tariffs. So in South Africa, we are also a surplus producer of sugar. However, our import duty is insufficient to really protect the industry.
We are a low-cost producer of sugar, and the biggest cost driver in the production of sugar is the cost of sugar cane. And what we've had to do because of these imports that are coming in at such low prices, we had to drop the prices that we pay to sugarcane farmers. Over the last year, twice we had to drop these prices, virtually about 21%, in order to compete with these imports. By dropping our prices, the sugarcane grower gets, a much lesser price, and that's not sustainable. And the main people that are affected, firstly, will be the small-scale growers.
Cane growers say they are forced to sell premium sugar at the lowest prices because the government is failing to protect them from cheap sugar imports. They say unless the government urgently intervenes and increases import duty tariffs, sugarcane remains a worthless crop.
Currently, we are in a crisis that is really a threat to our rural economy. In fact, it's got a ripple negative effect into our rural towns. Because the cheap imports, what happens is the other countries are heavily subsidized by their governments and dump sugar into the world market, which then people import that sugar at below our production costs, at our production levels. So the reality is there is no hope for a small-scale farmer because they are the first and the worst hit. Commercial farmers as well are bleeding in this instance because for the first time in the sugar industry that they are getting negative statements in March, meaning that they've got no money to even pay their labor wages.
The situation is so dire that the industry lost more than 2 billion rands in revenue last year.
So in 2017, we had over 500,000 tons of sugar imported from foreign countries into South Africa. And because we're a surplus producer, every ton that's imported displaces a local ton of sugar. So we've had to sell a huge amount of sugar onto this low-priced export market because of these foreign imports. And as a result, in 2017, the industry lost in the region of 2.5 billion in revenue because of foreign imports.
The farmers have approached International Trade Administration of South Africa to increase import duties in order to save the sugar industry. Exports and Imports Duty Watchdog, ITAC, is currently looking into the matter.
Been approached by SASSA through an application for the increase in the reference price, dollar-based reference price. That application is with us, and it's also supported by SAFTA. We have started communicating with the industry and are busy with the investigation. Normally our investigations take more than 6 months. Typically investigations of this nature take about 9 to 12 months.
However, sugarcane growers organizations say 6 months is a long time.
Working on it on an expedited basis to ensure that we do it in the shortest possible time. In addition, as we speak, there is what's called a formula duty mechanism, which provides for the imposition of duties on imported sugar. At this stage, at the moment, that duty is sitting at 42%. So there is some form of protection as we speak.
In a bid to have the matter fast-tracked, farmers have also met President Cyril Ramaphosa, as the decline is also affecting jobs of farm workers.
But also it's a job for all South Africans to actually, know that by importing sugar, they are importing jobs and therefore killing our own local jobs. This has a negative impact insofar as, the very thorny issue of job creation in our country. We are killing the very jobs that we have.
Sugarcane farmers say the situation is so dire that they don't even have a few months to survive. They say they don't have enough money to pay labor wages.
The plight has become worse for the industry with the HPL, which is commonly known as the sugar tax that was applied recently from 1 April to beverages. What this means is that we could potentially lose about 200,000 tons of sugar sales on the local market. That means that if we lose the sale in the local market, we would have to export that 200,000 tons. And it will be exported at those low prices, that is below our cost of production. So a tariff or an import duty would certainly make a difference in that we will be able to grow our market.
Farmers say hiking the import duty will help them to boost their income and save jobs.
We already have a tariff in place. It's just that it's insufficient. It still exposes us to the cheap imports. So when the rand strengthens, our tariff protection is inefficient. So what we are asking for is that government intervenes on taking it higher so that we can still be safe. And what it will do is it will boost our incomes and therefore sustain our jobs and also impact positively into our rural towns. So that the improvement of the actually hiking of the tariff will assist with saving the jobs that are desperately needed in our country.
ITAC says it's doing the best that it can.
If the application that they have brought recently on the increase in the dollar-based reference price works as per the application, then they will get additional or stronger protection. We are an investigating body. We have the commission, which assesses the application based on its merits.
Protecting the sugar industry is not a requirement of government, according to an independent economist.
A local industry will always complain about imports because the fewer imports there are, the more profitable it will be for the local industry. So it really doesn't matter whether we're talking about the milk industry or the sugar industry. The reality is that local producers do not like imports. And the only real sustainable way that a local producer or the local industry can remain competitive is simply to improve productivity. I know the reality is that quite often they compete with international suppliers that get some specific assistance from their own governments, which we don't get locally. But the reality is it is better for the average consumer in South Africa to rather get cheaper stuff from abroad than buying more expensive stuff locally. And the reality also is that we have to accept the fact that South Africa is a country that competes internationally with a lot of other consumers or other producers, and the only way that we can sustainably improve our position is to improve productivity.
While the sugar industry waits for answers, many fear a loss for all those involved.
It will eventually, in the very near future, start affecting farm workers. Thousands will be laid off. And that's one thing that I'm sure our industry wants to avoid as well. We have a responsibility towards the consumer as well as a responsibility towards our labor. And especially in an area like this, it's almost impossible to re-employ a person because but it's an estimate, I really think in the Kanyagute we're sitting with a 60% unemployment rate at this point in time.
And the people who are employed, a lot of them are employed in the sugarcane farming.
Oh yes, the bulk of, and I'm the largest employer in probably a 200 kilometer radius. There are nobody employing as many people as we do, and we would hate to get rid of one of our people because they are so well trained and they are so well committed. It would be a sad day for me. In fact, I've never done it in my nearly 40 years of farming. I've never laid off anybody because of my financial problems.
Sugarcane farmers are pinning their hopes on governments to come to their rescue and increase import duties. They say cheap sugar imports are not only threatening the sugar industry, but the jobs of farm workers as well.